You may know that English is an Indo-European language. Most of its siblings or cousins, like German or Russian, are inflected languages. That means words change their forms to express tense, case, gender, and so on. This process is called conjugation when it comes to verbs, and declension when it comes to nouns or adjectives. But in English, only a few traces of this system remain, like walked for the past tense or runs for the third person singular. These are just remnants. Modern English has evolved into what we call an analytic language. Languages like this rely on word order and function words to convey meaning, like Vietnamese, Thai, or Chinese. So, how did this transition happen? And when? Let's talk about that in this video. The earliest form of English we know today was brought to Britain in the mid-5th century. The traditional starting point is around 449 AD, when a group of West Germanic people, the Anglo-Saxons, were invited to the British Isles to help fight off invaders from the north, known as the Picts. In return, they were given a land in the southeast of Britain. That's when this Anglo-Frisian dialect, a branch of Germanic languages and the ancestor of English, began to take root. Before that, the main languages spoken in Britain were Celtic languages. Old English was drastically different from what we speak today. Even after centuries of evolution, it still looked and sounded much more like German. It had a complex system of grammatical gender, case, and number. For example, nouns had 4 cases: nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative, and 2 numbers, singular and plural. That means one noun could have 8 different forms. On top of that, nouns had 3 genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter. But these didn't always match natural gender. For example, the word for woman, Wiefman, was actually masculine. Adjectives also changed depending on case and number and had both strong and weak forms. Verbs had only 2 tenses, present and past, but their conjugation patterns were complex. Still, many everyday words we use today, like be, strong, or water, come directly from Old English. Modern English speakers would need to study Old English as a foreign language in order to understand it. But all of this started to change with the arrival of the French. In 1066, William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, invaded and conquered England. French became the language of the elite, and over time it deeply influenced English vocabulary and grammar. A huge number of Old English words were replaced with French or Latin equivalents. At the same time, English came into contact with Scandinavian languages too. Its pronunciation system began to shift, especially as English developed a strong stress system, emphasizing the first syllable. This caused unstressed endings to become weaker and often disappear. As a result, the old system of inflection, based on word endings, started to break down. Nouns gradually lost their case system and simplified into just singular and plural forms, with an S sound at the end, like in cats, becoming the standard plural ending. Adjectives also lost their inflection entirely. Since grammatical roles could no longer be shown through word endings, English began relying on word order and prepositions. This is how English became more analytic. Here's an excerpt from the Tales of Canterbury, written in late Middle English. Modern English speakers can already understand a good portion of it, but in terms of pronunciation, Middle English still sounded more like German than Modern English, but that was about to change. Near the end of the Middle English period, something huge happened. The pronunciation of long vowels began to shift. This is called the Great Vowel Shift, and it completely changed how English vowels were pronounced. Some vowels were raised. For example, the vowel in the word meat used to sound similar to word met in modern Australian English, but held longer. Other vowels turned into diphthongs. For instance, the vowel in might used to sound like meat, but during the shift it became a diphthong, pronounced like might, with 2 vowel sounds. This series of changes pushed English pronunciation further away from other Germanic languages. By the time of Shakespeare, around the 16th to early 17th century, English already sounded much closer to what we speak today, only one thing remained: spelling. During the time of the Great Vowel Shift, the printing press spread to England. Printed materials became widespread. But English spelling was still a mess. There was no standard. For example, Julius Caesar could be written as any one of the following. Even within the same sentence, a simple word like he could be spelled differently, like he or hee, even though they were pronounced the same. This kind of inconsistency appears all over Shakespeare's plays. Written English was much slower to change than spoken English. Once spellings became fixed in print or dictionaries, they were rarely updated, even as pronunciation kept evolving. That's one of the main reasons why English spelling today is often so different from how words sound. By the late 17th century, English spelling had started to become more standardized. A major milestone came in 1755 with Samuel Johnson's A Dictionary of the English Language, a work that helped regularize spelling and usage. Since then, English has remained largely stable. By the 18th century, it had fully transformed into the language we know today. Modern readers can still read 18th century literature with little difficulty. And that's how English evolved, from a heavily inflected Germanic tongue to the flexible global language it is today. If you found this transition fascinating, follow for more stories behind the languages we speak every day. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.